Sometimes in football, you find yourself a man short. And that's exactly what happened to me in this very, very big game that we played. It was a cup final, and with 35 minutes to go, we had a man sent off. We had to make some very big decisions. And this is what we did, and this is how we held on. Let's go and kick some balls. Hello and welcome back to FM with Old Man Phil, and if you are a brand new visitor, I'm Phil and welcome to the channel. And today we are continuing with our look at how we make decisions in-game, in the series in game management, and how you can actually influence a result, sometimes coming from behind, sometimes holding out for a draw, and sometimes, as in this case, holding on to a well-earned lead when you're down to 10 men. And this game that we're going to take a look at today doesn't get any better. We were in the cup final, we were cruising, we were 2-0 up going into the second half, but then two mistakes by my fullback, one giving away a goal just after half-time, and then a few minutes later he found himself getting sent off, which gave me an absolute headache, and I had to make some big decisions. I had to now, with 35 minutes left on the clock, try and hold on to the lead that we had established. With momentum switching their way, it wasn't a case of keep attacking. It was now, how do we close the game down? And we're going to use this particular game to show you exactly what we did. But before we go into what we did on the pitch during this game, and then at the end we'll give you some general tips on how to manage this. If you are brand new to the channel and you like FM content and you love to see people suffer playing this game, then I can tell you, you are definitely in the right place. So why not hit that subscribe button, click the bell so that you will be updated when we upload future videos. And while you're there, hit that like button because it's likes and comments that help the algorithm to push the videos out to people who've not yet had a chance to see our videos. And so with that said, let's get straight on to the cup final itself. As always, before every game, I had a quick look through the scout report and the comparison report, and I know this team, Atletico Paranense, very well. And games in this tend to go either we're going to win or we're going to lose. There's no telling who is favourites for this game. It's a big rivalry. It's now a cup final. I've got absolutely no idea which way this game is going to go. And so I decided at the end of the day that we would play in the way that we normally play. And so I'd set up my tactic exactly the way that I wanted to play. And I thought that we would start with a positive mentality. We'd go at them to begin with, hoping that we could get an early goal, and then maybe we would get something out of this game. And so as the game progressed, and I'm very nervous, it's a cup final, the game gets underway, and we've got pretty much possession early on. And I always like to watch early on because it does give me an idea of who has the match momentum. And so it seemed that we did have the possession, we were controlling the game, and things were looking very good at this stage. And we got a corner on the left-hand side, the ball's headed clear, somehow we pick up the loose ball, and it finds its way out onto the right-hand side, and Redondo, out of nowhere, pops it into the corner, and what a perfect start. After 2 minutes we were a goal up, and it continued that way. We were absolutely cruising, we were dominating possession, we had all the ball, we were creating chances, they were dangerous on the break and dangerous from set pieces, but it did look to me like we were absolutely in control of the game. Nothing to worry about at this stage. We're creating a lot of chances, they were getting a little bit of chances. I noticed that they were attacking mostly down the left-hand side, so I decided to tell my fullback on that side not to close down so much, just out of fear that he might skip past him. I decided then not to close down the right fullback and just to turn him onto his weaker foot, because we had a more attacking wing-back on that side. And so the game was perfectly balanced. We were absolutely dominating. And then Pineda popped up at the edge of the box and made it 2-0. At this point, we're absolutely cruising. I'm jumping up and down. And this looks like another trophy in the bag. But as we come up to half-time, they're getting a little bit more possession, coming back into the game a little bit. So I decided to close the game down a little bit. We were going to pass it a little bit shorter, try and get more possession, keep the ball away from them, and play up to half-time, regroup, and then have a look at what we need to do. And it seemed like the right decision. We continue to dominate up to half-time, creating chances, chance after chance after chance. And they really were not in this game. And it looked to all the world like we were cruising to another easy victory. And corner after corner, we create chance after chance, but always there is the threat from them on the break. And they do look like they are coming back into the game a little bit before half-time. And what I decided to do at this point was I think we needed to really just close the game down a lot more, because they are very much in the game. And suddenly, just before halftime, my fullback had made a mistake, and from the resulting cross, they got themselves back into the game. But 2-1 up, and we still continued to press them. I had noticed that they were a little bit coming back into the game, so I went to balanced at this point just to get through to halftime. We'd regroup and then decide what we would do at the start of the second half. And they were coming back into the game. They did have their tails up at this point. They were only a goal behind now all of a sudden, and they started creating chances. But I was fairly pleased with how things were going. We were definitely the better team, and so we told them, let's go out and do what we've been doing. I decided at that point to come off the counter press. I thought they were passing it around us at the back, and it would save energy should it eventually have to go to extra time. Everything was looking good. I decided that we would get stuck in at this point. We seemed to be not winning the ball in midfield, and I decided that dribbling was probably not a good idea and that we should actually not dribble so much. So I came off the dribble more. Try and keep possession. It was just about keeping the ball away from them. But then we had the man sent off. And so obviously I needed to bring on my substitute fullback, and so I decided that one of the forwards had to be substituted, and so we sacrificed a forward for the fullback. Now, one of the things that is interesting here is who do you take off, and we'll deal with that when we come to the end of the match, because it is important. Your substitutions from here on in are also very, very important, and there are attributes that you need to consider when you're doing substitutions from this point on. Anyway, we managed to make our team look a little bit better, but they are pressing. Their tails are definitely up now. I decided I wanted to keep possession now, so I went narrow with a short, lower tempo. I didn't want to be counter-attacking either. It was time now to start to close the game down, and I reduced the defensive line a little bit. Came off the trigger press by one little bit and didn't press the goalkeeper. They were passing the ball around us from the back, and so counter-press wasn't really effective. I decided now, with 30 minutes on the clock, I had to start looking after the lead. And things were going well. I'm keeping an eye on the stats as we go along. I know we're going to be under the cosh. I decide to bring my fullback on the left now to a support role. We're starting to close the game down now, starting to become a little bit more defensive. And at this point, I decide I want to congest the midfield. And so I bring one of my attacking mids back into midfield and kind of went into a diamond shape, which I thought might suffice a little bit better. Because I had a wing back roaming up the pitch on the right, I decided perhaps a Carrilero might be the right role, but in the end I left it as it was. And so the game actually proceeded. We did create chances, which was interesting, even though we had now gone a little bit more defensive. Dribble less now became the order of the day. I just wanted to hold on to possession, play it around, and waste time as much as I possibly could. And I decided at this point, with just 6 or 7 minutes to go, to bring my other fullback on the right. I wanted him now to be on a defend duty, closed down that left-hand side where they had been very dangerous, so the fullback went on to defend. We still created chances because I hadn't changed up to that point the mentality, but now I decided to go to a defensive mode and close the game down now. And there's not much left that I need to do. I just want to come off, get stuck in, and I'll bring the line of engagement back. We'll play in a mid-block now, and we'll play defensive. And now I'm going to up the time wasting and ask the team to be more disciplined. And so basically then, even though we created chances, they created chances as well. We did manage to hold on in the end and to win the cup final. And I think there are very important lessons to be learned from what we did there. And if you are in this position, and I'm just loving this, I do love it when we pick up another trophy. And when you are in that position where you're a man down, there are very, very important stages that you have to go through depending upon when you get your man sent off. And we'll just take a quick look at those little stages now as we go into a little review of what we actually did and some general guidelines on what to do. And so, yep, another cup was in the bag. It was hard-earned, that one. I had to work very, very hard when it looked like we had won the game quite comfortably. And so there are a number of things that you have to go through when this happens to you. And you have to obviously replace the player in the position. In this case, it was a wing-back on support. So I decided to take off the pressing forward, who was not having the best of games. But there were also other reasons why I decided to remove that particular player. We'll come to those in a minute. So you need to retain some sort of shape and some sort of control of the ball. And control of the ball now has become very, very important. The very first thing that I need to do is to make sure that we can retain possession. We're currently playing quite an intensive pressing, short passing, very high tempo game. So we need to reduce the tempo a little bit just to make sure that we can hold on to the ball quite effectively. At the moment we're going to stay fairly narrow, but we are going to up the time wasting to sometimes just to give them a breather, just to help them to maintain their energy levels. And then I'm going to play for set pieces because that will also help to give them a breather, slow the game down at times. The rest I'm going to leave as it is. We're not in any panic. What we've been doing has won us the game. And so all I'm generally thinking about at the moment is just to hold on to possession. But I am going to come off the counter press to conserve energy, and we're not going to distribute quickly now. We're going to slow things down a lot more. We're still going to counterattack, but we're going to slow things a lot more. And then we're going to come off the trigger press a little bit. We're not going to prevent the short goalkeeper distribution. They were passing the ball around us quite easily, so I think we'd done that before we got the man sent off or just after. And the rest I'm going to keep as it is. And so that's the first thing that I'm going to do for 10 or 15 minutes. If we can hold on to that point, then we are going to go to stage 2. And stage 2, we are going to lower the tempo a little bit more. We're going to go narrower to help us to stay a little bit more compact. And we're now not going to run at the defense to encourage our players to pass the ball around rather than lose it in transition through dribbling. At this point, I might decide that I don't want to counterattack. I'm probably not going to hold my shape, but we're just going to keep in a more disciplined style of play. And then finally, I'm going to bring the line back a little bit so that we can give our defenders a better chance of maintaining control over the ball, and then come off, get stuck in. There's absolutely no need to do that at this point. And then finally, we're going to go into the final stage of what we're going to do. We're going to become more defensive, and we are going to up the time wasting, and we are definitely not going to be dribbling now, and we're going to be more disciplined. There's not much more I can do here. We probably will slow the pace down, try to keep the ball away from them, and then finally, with 5 or 6 minutes of normal time to go, I'm going to go into a mid-block, and we're just going to try and get as many bodies as we can in front of the ball so that they are struggling to create opportunities. We're only going to be doing this for 5 or 6 minutes, and that should be enough. And doing it in stages means that you are gradually reducing your mentality rather than just inviting pressure with 35, 40 minutes to go. Two things to note was that at various stages we did switch the roles of the players a little bit. We brought this fullback onto support and we brought this one back onto a defend duty. We also moved players into the midfield in order to make the midfield a little bit stronger, creating this diamond in midfield. And that overloaded midfield and we were able to win the ball. And finally, when it comes to making substitutions, there are three attributes that you need to consider, and those are teamwork, determination, and work rate. Teamwork, because you are going to want your players having that teamwork value, that they're going to play together as a unit and not as individuals. Determination, you want players who have the will to hold on to the lead. So high determination is going to help you get as many players onto the pitch with that attribute. And then also work rate, because you now are down to 10 men. You want to put players on the pitch who are going to put in a shift. They're going to have to work really hard to maintain possession, to maintain the intensity of the game. They are going to have to work really hard. And so you want players who have got those three attributes coming onto the pitch. The rest of the attributes really at this stage don't matter, because you are just trying to preserve your lead. And so that's it for this video. If you are brand new to the channel and you like FM content, hit that subscribe button, click the bell so you'll be updated when we upload future videos. And don't forget to hit that like button, because likes and comments will help to push the video out to an audience who've not yet had a chance to see our videos. And all that remains to be said now is thanks for coming along, and I hope that you got something from it. And stay safe, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.